visitors to this time and space. We're only passing through.
Life can be so ... I hope you fill in the blank with something positive. Life can be so wonderful, amazing, absolutely terrifying. It depends on your perspective, I suppose. You bring your frame of reference and understanding to life. It is what you perceive it to be. It is what you want it to be. It is what you ultimately make it to be. How about that IIHF World Men's Hockey Final? Gold medal match. Canada and Latvia? No, Canada and Germany? Yeah, a lot of surprises in that tournament, and Germany had a chance to be gold medalist. Just about looked like they were going to do it until Canada took charge late in the third, midway through the third. Yeah, an open netter. Some good stuff in sports. I was following one of my favorite events. Damian Warner, does that name ring a bell? It's the decathlon. And he is the reigning world champion, but at an event, and I'm not sure where this was, and I'm not sure who the up-and-comer is, but Canada's got a second contender, and he won the event. I'm going to say Pierre Lepage, but I'm not sure that I've got it right. Anyway, it's just good to see a whole bunch of things happening in the world of sports that are good for Canada, good for athletes, good for morale, nation building. How about a woman breaking the male hockey, sledge hockey team and joining the roster? First woman to cross that gender gap in sports. How will she do? Well, she broke the barrier to get on the team, so let's see how it goes from there. Lots of interesting things. If you've been following the Alberta, Canada election, then that kind of, well, let's say if you're on the right or center right, it is what you thought it would be. Danielle Smith is elected. She had been leading the UCP, United Conservative Party, since Jason Kenney was, do I say he was ousted? It's kind of unceremoniously dumped. And the backing behind Danielle Smith is kind of interesting. The rogues gallery, from a left perspective, of those people who are not progressive but regressive. Stephen Harper. Stephen Harper, the days of muzzling climate scientists who disagreed with what the Conservatives were doing on the federal level. All kinds of things came out of this election in Alberta. Is it a litmus test? I'm wondering, I've seen some demographics that sort of make me think it's a rural versus urban voting pattern. And I'm not sure what that all means, except to say that usually in urban centers, you get most immigration. Immigration means you're rubbing elbows, shoulder to shoulder, working with people of diverse cultures and life experiences. It's a much more cosmopolitan way of life in an urban center. The mayor of Calgary put his lot in behind Rachel Notley and the NDP. I don't know that Albertans really were willing to give Notley another chance. She had control for a number of years, and people did not want to see a reinvention of the NDP government. So they opted for Danielle Smith. What concerns me about Danielle Smith and Alberta is this rural-urban divide and pandering. Is that the right word? Politicians all pander to their base. What is the base of the UCP? Well, if you know anything about not Rachel Notley, if you know anything about Danielle Smith, you know the Wild Rose Party. And you know about getting support, giving support, and receiving support from the Wild Rose Party, which was really a West exit kind of party, a party of dissatisfied Albertans, people who wanted to make Alberta great again, and whose vision was more rural and parochial, whose values remained ensconced in some kind of religious veneer of rural conservative Christianity, perhaps, mostly. So what does the election result, returning Danielle Smith to now a duly elected, before she was just an interim leader, now she's solidified it. Before she functioned as leader without being elected. She was elected leader of the UCP, but not before the voters. This is her first appearance before the voters. So did you get what you thought you would get in Alberta? Well, if you followed Danielle Smith and her rhetoric, the spoken words that she said, people would always justify and say, oh, well, that's not what she meant. But really, the words stand on their own, and it's not a pretty thing to read and listen to. Some of the things that Danielle Smith has said over the years and over the year of campaigning. It's kind of interesting for me as an Ontarian to listen and look, and as an observer of things GOP Republican in the States, and see parallels. Is it wrong to draw connections? Maybe. You need all kinds of evidence to really nail that down. But when you see the leader of the UCP being embraced by those people who are dissatisfied with federal liberals, and when you see it's the F. Trudeau crowd who supports Danielle Smith, it's when you see her saying she's going to battle Trudeau. I'm not sure that battling is the best way to build bridges. It's a good way to blow them up, but when you blow up a bridge, it's costly for everybody, and you got to rebuild this thing. Why not just find ways to make federalism work instead of trying to emphasize provincial power and provincial jurisdiction, regional power structures? And of course, there's the whole who sponsors the UCP? What industry is the main driver behind donations and support? Could it be oil and gas? Could the future of Canada be oil and gas? Well, it is if you believe the ads from oil and gas executives. It's not if you're a progressive, if you want to see change, if you want to be part of a solution. Not if you want to go back. And I just wonder if Alberta has just pressed pause for a little bit, where they're going to regroup and maybe get reorganized. I don't know what the next few years will hold for Alberta. I wish them well. But when you divide people by vilifying the vaccinated, by promising to pardon the unvaccinated. What? Okay. I'd like to ask a few questions about what you believe about science, about community, about how you're going to build bridges, because it is a rural-urban divide. Calgary, and Edmonton going significantly left of center. Rural Alberta, bit stuck maybe? We'll see. Danielle Smith into a majority, but the NDP gained a fair number of seats. Danielle Smith loses some cabinet ministers. It's a bit of a shake-up in Alberta. Interesting stuff to watch, the rural-urban divide in politics in Canada. I'm your host, Terry. Bye-bye for now.